Welcome, everybody, to the Unphazed Podcast, the number one motivational show in the world where we do our best to show you how to stay unfazed in this world that will definitely try to phase you. You know, I'm here as always, Unphazed Sensei, Phase I'm a clergy. We got Mr. Real Neil McDeal here. But today's guest, we have an amazing guest today. This Gen Z educator, content creator, public intellectual who is flipping the script and redefining what cultural education looks like. She's a Cornell graduate with a master's from Northwestern University. She's built a large audience where she talks social justice, history, identity with so much clarity and courage that it's truly inspiring to me. She has work that's been featured in the Washington Post, USA Today, CNN, Glamour, and she recently interviewed the second gentleman, Douglas Emhoff, about the rise in anti Semitism. She's also been invited to the White House for the first ever Jewish American Heritage Month celebration. This young lady, she is a voice you guys need to know, and I'm sure if you don't know her, you will be hearing from her soon. Blending scholarship, culture, and activism in a way that speaks directly to this generation. She is and will continue to be one of the most important voices of our generation. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, we have Miss Raven Schwam Curtis. This is going to be an amazing episode. Let's get into it.
I'm unfazed, I'm unfazed, yeah, I'm unfazed. I'm unfazed, yeah, I'm unfazed. I'm unfazed, yeah, finna stack this paper. I'm unfazed, I'm unfazed, yeah, finna stack this paper. I'm unfazed.
That's so Raven. It's the future I can see. That's so Raven. Come on now.
I should have had that loaded up as the
You
preview.
got,
We
you got
just got
that.
into
There
it.
we go.
Yeah, I got next time. Noted. Raven, how are
Throw
you?
me on the vocals.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Right. You look like I
Raven,
had a
how are
piano
you?
out. Y'all
You
know I
come
do the
on,
piano.
yeah, you can bring the piano. All right, you gotta learn that one.
Period. We got a band going here. We got a
Yeah,
band going.
yeah, we'll get it together for the next one. But Raven, how you doing today? Good to have you on the pod.
Oh my goodness, good to be here. Thank you for the warm welcome. That was such a
Of
kind
course.
introduction. One of the most
Phaz
important voices
likes
of the
to toot his
generation.
own horn with the
Yes.
welcomes.
Matters.
I think he's the best in the game with the intros.
Oh, I appreciate it. But no, one thing I do say with all the intros, because we don't just like for the podcast and you're building a brand and things like that, you always want to bring people on that the audience kind of has to match. Like our audience has to be able to get something. Likewise, we can give something to your audience. But when we book people to do the podcast, I always like to say this. When I do the intro, it's 100% like true and kind of what I feel because I like to people on that connect with what we're doing, that are doing great things, that are inspiring, that inspire me, that I want to learn something from. So I appreciate you again just for hopping on with us today.
Of course. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Yes, but I definitely want to get into it. And so actually before we start, this is actually something I was very excited to talk about. Like as I was like just preparing, just like watching some more of your content and everything, I realized that we have some similarities, both having to do with Cornell University. First thing,
Both light skinned. So
both, yeah, okay, yeah,
I don't know if we're
go
going to
to,
talk about that. Woo!
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God. I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
This start, yeah, but both graduated in 2020.
Uh-huh.
Because I ended up graduating this. I graduated December 2020 because I graduated like a semester early. So we both got that, and yeah, and then we both minored in inequality studies.
Hey, gang, gang.
Come on now, yeah. So that's that. Actually, wait, let me bring my
all right.
that
Shout out to all the
in.
graduates, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so that's definitely something that I had to bring up to you. But overall, like I said, we kind of talked about the intro and everything, but I definitely just want to get into it as far as like post Cornell or even at Cornell, like when did like the motivation or wanting to get into like the education part, like being able to educate, especially like with Gen Z and like that come for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Honestly, like the only thing I've ever known for sure about myself is that I love to learn and I love to teach.
Hmm.
I was never one of those kids that grew up thinking this is what I want to be when I grow up. I just knew that I love to learn and I love to teach, and I was a big old nerd. You have to proceed to that at Cornell, and so my junior year, I was kind of put on by some mentors who were like, "Hey, like you should explore grad school. I feel like you'd really enjoy research." And you know, I got the LMA's undergraduate fellowship. I started doing research on an undergraduate level. Really enjoyed that. I applied to some departments and programs. And I ended up getting into an MA PhD program in Black Studies at Northwestern. Well, really, that's where the journey, I guess, continued or started, or that was part of the catalyst of like, okay, teaching is going to be a big part of my life, because obviously a PhD program is like a very distinct sort of professionalizing process to become the best at teaching the thing that you're learning in a way that will like shape minds and hearts forever. And then honestly, it's when I was in grad school that I realized that social media could be another tool in doing that work. Obviously, we think of teaching oftentimes in like a traditional sense or through a traditional lens of it happens in the classroom. But the truth is that like teaching and learning happens everywhere all the time, right? Like it doesn't
all
have
the time
in an elitist institution to be valid and worthwhile. And so basically the long and the short of it is like I was talking to my mom on the phone and just like over and over again, sort of saying to her, I feel like what I'm learning in the classroom, particularly in Black studies, I was like, I feel like what I'm learning is so paramount and so important. And I can't believe I'm just now learning this at like 22 years old. Like, why doesn't everyone know this? And I guess she finally got tired of hearing me say that enough times. And she was like, well, why don't you teach them? Like, why don't you go on TikTok and tell the people? And I started to, and now I talk to 300,000 people every day. So I guess
I love TikTok.
right.
and I think that's so cool because at least for me, I'll say like education, like a lot of people like social media pushes, like I'm not going to say it pushes, but like how the algorithms and everything are built, it's like what you consume or what you enjoy, it's going to give you more of that. You know what I mean? So as far as like content and educational content, a lot of people wouldn't expect to be like, I'm there learning, but it's like it's a great platform to be on there and actually learn and be able to educate and different things like that. So I think that's super cool. One question I wanted to ask you though is like when I get on, so if you go on your page and like you said, you're talking to 300,000 people every day, once you go on the page, right, it seems so natural. It's like flawless. Okay, you're doing this. People are like, oh my God, Raven's so good. She's doing this. But like from the start, was there like an awkward part where it's like, okay, I'm gonna put the camera up and like doing it, or were you completely comfortable when you started, or how did that go?
Oh my God, no, I was so uncomfortable. This is so funny to me. Like this is giving me the same feeling of like when I tell people I experience social anxiety and they're like, what are you talking about? You always seem so comfortable. I'm like, well, I'm glad I'm a good actress, my goodness. I'll take it. No, I mean, honestly, I think a huge part of like the growing pains when I first started making content was just getting a sense of like, what is my voice in the online space? Because I would dialogue and have conversation in a classroom was not the same that I would like dialogue and have conversation online, simply because you know who you're speaking to and what platforms you're speaking to them on. So like for me as a short form content creator, I had to figure out how to turn a 20-page academic journal article into like a pithy, punchy 30 to 45-second TikTok that could
be fun, entertaining, all in one.
Totally. So honestly, like I think that especially like the first 6 months to a year, was just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what would stick. And also like not only what would stick, but what I enjoyed doing.
That's big.
That's honestly how like dancing became a big part of my content, because being in Black studies, I mean, it's not to say there aren't like parts of like joy and levity, obviously, to our histories and lived experiences as a people and diaspora. But a lot of the conversations in the classroom were heavy. It's like we're talking about the antebellum era all day and misogynoir and like stuff that's just like, oh, like hits you in your soul, like you're crying over your readings. And I think the question I asked myself about like what kind of educator I wanted to be was, how can I marry the important information with like the trending dance or the trending sound and like use a lighter vehicle to get people the same information, but without leaving them feeling just like fundamentally spiritually depleted. And so that's why I started playing around with dance, because I love to dance. People love to dance, especially on TikTok in that like 2021 era of the Charli D'Amelio, like, you know, and I started marrying that with the education. People rocked with it, and so I still do it. So throwing all this while seeing what sticks.
What was the moment like? You know what I'm saying? Because again, us being in a similar position to developing a platform, what was that moment like for you when you finally recognized like, okay, people might actually be listening to me, the following's starting to grow, and then what was the challenge about it? You know what I'm saying? Just to develop your credibility in that lane now that you're in, like for people to be like, oh, okay, what she's saying is actually valid and these points make sense.
Those are two really interesting questions. I mean, how did I know that I was having real impact? I think there are a couple different measures, right? Like there are the obvious ones of my videos are going viral and I'm having millions of people, watch my stuff every month. And that's cool. And obviously those things matter. Another metric is like when different organizations tied to your niche start reaching out to you as a subject matter expert. So getting invited to speak on particular panels, or getting invited to work on different creator activations and sponsorship deals. That was another sort of calibration. But I think, I don't know, this is like kind of corny, but I feel like the most important barometer for me was other like Black and Jewish people reaching out to me and being like, hey, this like makes me feel seen. You are having impact. Like, because of da-da-da video that I watched from you, I took this action. Like I literally ran into multiple revealers. Those are
there we go. Shout out to revealers.
Shout out to revealers.
Go on out.
Ran into a couple of revealers when I was in Houston, actually, for the No Kings rally. And like one person came up to me and they were so nice. And they're like, I'm actually here today because of you, because I've been following you for a while. And like, I just felt so strongly about the urgency of this moment. I wanted to show up. So yeah, I would say that's another big indicator when you're getting feedback directly from your audience, that what it is that you're creating and putting out in the world is like fundamentally changing folks for the better. And then in terms of, I don't know, like the growing pains of it and what that process looks like, I don't know. I think honestly, it's just like put as much out there as you possibly can, as your creative heart can handle, and like see what's resonant. That's really the best advice that I have for folks who are finding their lane. And then once you figure out what you're really good at and what people really want to come to you for, dig in.
Yeah, 100%. I think one thing that's really cool that you said, that we talk about the podcast and everything, just making content, is that you figure out what works, right? But then you also have to figure out, what do you enjoy, like, and tying those in, because if you don't figure out what that is, like over time you'll get burnt out. It will feel like not as fun doing it. I think I want to commend you as well, just because it's so cool to see, because I feel like a lot of times we all like go to college. Like for me, it was like I used football as that leverage to go get my education at the highest level, and I got my master's in sports management and things like that as well. But I didn't really go there like, okay, I'm going to do something in sports management or do something in here. So it's pretty cool to see that from even at Cornell, everything you were doing is kind of building you up. And like Iman was saying, is giving you that leverage and giving you that you're doing all the research and all the work to get to the point where you're at. So it's like all the work that you've been doing has led you to a point, and that's very cool to see.
And then who knew politics could be this fun? Because again, just a brief moment, I was able to review, just your page and kind of explore the things that you've indulged in and talked about. I'm like, is she talking about politics or is she having a good time? Are you dancing? I'm like, these videos are, and again, me being one who, this is just me. I don't really indulge or partake too much in politics, because most times it's broken down on a level in which you don't understand it, or if you're not asked. But then you can see, like you said, the short form content in which we're so accustomed to now begin to resonate, make sense with you. You came on, you're like, okay, what's she doing? And then meanwhile, you're having fun, you're having a blast, but then you're reading the caption, you're like, okay, this is about something here. She has my attention, I am intrigued, and now you can start to pick up a little bit more of the message. So I think it's dope, the approach you have on politics in more of a lighter sense, but you also still see that you've able to have your interviews and your debates, and even just some of your back and forth Twitter message posts, that can kind of keep the buzz there. So it's fun elements that I like that you provide for this lane.
I appreciate that. And honestly, I think you're in the majority. Like more and more people around our age are going to the internet for their news, for their information. Like they want it in short, pithy bites. Like you have to, in the attention economy, like make things digestible and understandable for folks on like a very basic level. And that makes sense because there's so much happening all the time. Like otherwise, how are we supposed to keep up? And the accessibility piece is hella important. Like I am a scholar of bell hooks. I think when we're presenting information to people, the whole point is to like make something that will be helpful. So if it's in a way that's like, super high level academic, I guess that's fine. And that can serve its purpose. But if your goal is to ultimately help people, you have to say things in a way that's going to be clear to folks. So I think the social media space is really an opportunity to do that. And I'm glad that you feel that way about what I put out to the world. That's the whole goal.
There we go. We I think we just added a couple new revealers to the revealers, Ravens revealers.
Come on now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Raven, that's awesome. So I think another thing I wanted to ask you, like, where did it start necessarily for you, like as far as your content? Because I know you do a lot of content like around your identity being Black and Jewish. Did it start there and then it kind of went into other things that you were interested in? How did that start?
So honestly, it didn't start with like my identity as a Black and Jewish person at all.
Hmm.
For the first couple of months that I was making content, I didn't even mention it.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I didn't mention it, which is funny now because it's such a big part of like how I show up both in
Hmm.
my life and like online and all the things. But really, when I first started making content, I was talking about the Black radical tradition. I was talking about
Hmm.
colorism. I was talking about the antebellum era. Like I really was discussing everything through a Black studies lens because I was essentially taking what I was learning in the classroom and translating it in a digestible format
Yeah.
online. And so I would say there have been like two major inflection points in my career in terms of like content, like subject matter. And the first was during Hanukkah of 2021. There was
Mm.
this, like audio that was trending. It's like a traditional Jewish song, but it was like remix, and it was like Hanukkah, Hanukkah, light the menorah. I don't know if y'all know that, but it's a bop. You know, it's a bop.
It's a bop. Sound like a bop.
And so there was like an audio to that sound that was trending. And when I looked under the audio, at least optically, I was like, where are all the Jews of color? Like it was just not, it was
Mm.
like melanin redacted. And I guess I'm also melanin redacted, so I'm one to talk, but like really melanin redacted.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I just want to add some like JOC representation in here. That's it. And
Yeah, that's it.
but that's it. Like that was it wasn't a deep, like it wasn't a deep thought. I was like, I just want to dance to this. And I captioned it, "This is your annual reminder that Black Jews exist."
Mm.
Come on now.
Went to bed. Honestly, thought the video would flop because this isn't what I was talking about on my page, right? Like I was talking about Black studies, like colorism, et cetera, et cetera. Woke up the next morning and that joint had gone viral. And
Mm.
when I looked at the comments section, like a light bulb went off in my head because it was a mix of like other Black Jews being like, this is so dope to see another Black and Jewish person. Like I feel so seen, I feel so heard. This is awesome. Keep making stuff like this. It was a mix of that and then like just a tremendous amount of ignorance. And when I say
Mhm.
ignorance, I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way because I think ignorance is actually like often not malicious. It's just rooted in a lack of knowledge or understanding. But there are just so many questions. Like people did not understand how it was possible to
Yeah.
be Black and Jewish at the same time. And I think for me, that was an aha moment of like, okay, I can deeply affirm other people who sit at this particular interstitial like me, and also simultaneously like perform a certain kind of consciousness raising work by simply talking about who I am and like the intersection that I sit at. And so I just really leaned in and I started making more content like that and it popped. And then really the second inflection point was around the presidential election. That was more so when I pivoted from evergreen like education to more sort of like topical political conversations, just because of
Hmm.
how urgent, you know, the rise of fascism, like how urgent
Hmm.
of a threat Donald Trump is to this country, to Black and brown folks, to anyone who sits on the margins and isn't, you know, a white Christian nationalist man. That's when I was like, okay, I need to like bring those academic skills to provide a sort of lens and reading and an analysis of what we're confronting in this moment.
Hmm. And how was that whole experience for you, like during the election? Because, like you said, you were switching your content up a little bit, but I know you and other people that I follow as well, they were doing a lot because they were trying to help society. They were trying to educate people, like, you have to vote, you have to do these things. So, what was that? How was that period of time for you during the election?
It was intense. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
months of full steam ahead. Everyone's
Yeah.
energy, everyone's resources
Hmm.
toward trying to get Kamala Harris elected, right?
Yeah.
And it was a deeply fraught time. I mean, I think
Hmm.
because honestly, like the online right and right leaning ecosystem is so much more built out and resourced and funded than the left and like progressive online ecosystem.
Hmm.
We were kind of like the guinea pigs because they didn't know how to engage with us and activate us in a way to really like perform a certain kind of consciousness raising work around the election. So an example of that I'll give you is during the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, which was here in Chicago.
Hmm. Shout out Chicago.
Shout out Chicago, always. But so for the DNC, they invited like 200 creators, and this had never been done before. We were
Wow.
very much guinea pigs. We were given press credentials. So, you know, we're standing in
Wow.
the room as like a CNN or a New York Times
Mhm.
and credentials, which was also very like fraught because there were some folks in traditional media who felt a way about us being there, having that same
Yeah.
credentialing, right? So
Yes.
it was an interesting moment to be in for sure.
'Cause I got, you don't see my pad. I got my credentials. I can be back here.
That's
Ask
right.
my question. My hands raised. Let me say something.
Mhm.
But that's dope though, and I
Yeah.
love the fact that they're starting, like you said a little bit earlier ago, they're starting to recognize the power of. Nobody's like doing the. I'm not gonna say nobody, but the majority I feel like now are not doing the sit down in front of the news, turn the channel, keep up with the, you know what I'm saying, what's going on. You do start to see a lot more of these, TikTok or social media influencers, YouTubers, you know what I'm saying, whoever, now have, their introduction into the behind the scenes element of it. And now they are, hey, let's ask the question that for a certain amount of time it was raw and authentic, but then you start to get, it almost feels like geared or like directed. Like you're getting the questions in which, but they're not putting everything out there. But you guys, I'm assuming, are breaking that norm where it's like, no, I mean, we're not new to being here. I mean, we new to being here. We're not used to being here. We're gonna ask. Oh, we can ask that. Oh, well, still, let's get that answer though. It's asked now. Like, go ahead and put that out there. So it's like you almost get the real, because one would say you're pretty much a consumer yourself or somebody who's in our shoes. You just have that voice and that platform. So you're still going to get the most raw and authentic questions off, in which somebody who may not have that voice might be wanting to ask. So it's great that you guys have that platform and can be the voice for the average Joe like myself.
That's very
Yeah.
kind. Yeah.
And I seen that did you have the opportunity to go to the White House? How was that experience? I
That's
definitely want to hear about
amazing.
that.
So this is going to be probably the most head ass thing I've ever said in my life. But I've actually been to the White House 3 times.
Oh, really?
She's not impressed. She's not impressed. I've been there before, done that. About time.
I've been 3 times. I mean, look, I'll say this. Every time I've gone, it's been extraordinary. And like, I've just felt like I've been in such rarefied air and just really grateful to be granted entree. I don't know. My mom always says I'm like humble about stuff, but I really mean this when I say it. Like, I understand that I have a following online, but I really am like, I'm just Raven. Like, I just speak into the ether and I share my thoughts. Like, I truly don't think of myself in that type of way. So when these kinds of opportunities come my way, I'm always very grateful, but honestly, like kind of shocked sometimes because I'm like, you want me? You know what I mean?
Me?
You sure? Is this the
Yeah.
right?
That's the right.
But no, it was sick. So I'll just to answer the question more directly. So the first time I went was for the Jewish American Heritage Month celebration, which was dope. That was back in 2023. That was 2023. Yes. And yeah, it was the first time I had ever done that kind of celebration at the White House. And it was also after they had released sort of their national guide to combat anti-Semitism. This was like pre-October 7th and everything. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it was a very special moment to get to go and like find my cohort of Black and Jewish folks and like be able to meet people. And then the second time I went was for their Juneteenth celebration. That was really cool because I got to bring my mom with me. And
Oh, wow.
so
Nice.
special to share that. That's honestly the best thing about the perks I get from this job is just like being able to share it with my family because yeah, I mean, it's all for them anyways, right? And then the third time was for their Black Excellence Brunch. And you know what? This may be anti-Black to say because the White House is a product of like imperialism. So there's that. But I had the best grits of my life at the Black Excellence
Come on now, hey, they know how to do the grits. Off subject, because we gotta know. Because I know this is a big controversial debate. How do you like your grits prepared? Are you a sugar in the grits or are you a pepper and salt in the grits? What do you do?
No, there's straight people do cheese.
Or the cheese people out there.
So there is one right answer.
Is there?
There is one right answer.
We're gonna see.
And that answer is sugar.
Let's go. Can we get the praise break, baby? This is the praise break. Oh, come on now. Come on now. Y'all heard it first. Sugar in the grits. Definitely doing it.
Yes. I thought you was another way, Eman. No, I didn't know you was a sugar too.
You right.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't know you was a sugar too, Eman. I do the sugar.
Come
I didn't
on
know.
now.
I didn't
You
know.
think I'm not? I am. Sugar in the grits, most definitely. Monday,
That's
Tuesday,
awesome.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the grits.
Period.
There we
Grits, I
go.
feel like it's okay. We're not even get off subject. I was going to say grits. I feel like it's over, but back on subject. But for you, one question I want to know, especially somebody who's not heavily consumed in politics, but what's something that most people don't know is going on right now that if you could, inform, or we should get more like, hey, this is going on behind the scenes that y'all probably don't even know what's going on. Like, what's something big or controversial or something you've been following up on, like something that resonates with you that's very important to you that you want like to share that you don't feel like is getting that type of scope put on it.
Oh my goodness, there's so many things happening always. That's a great question, though. I mean, honestly, like what's front of mind right now for me is the genocide happening in Gaza and
Mhm.
towards Palestinian people right now. I was just reading an article, like right before I hopped on this podcast interview about 5 journalists that were murdered at like a hospital by an Israeli strike. In addition to like the 15 other people who were murdered, and just I was doing a bunch of research on like how at least 194 Palestinian journalists have been murdered since the beginning of the genocide. And
Mm.
I don't know, honestly, if I could implore folks to focus on anything right now, it would be to develop a very deep and nuanced and thoughtful analysis of the genocide happening and how it's connected to just the overall violence of US empire and imperialism, because it is our tax dollars that's funding what's happening abroad. And
Mhm.
obviously this has been going on for 2 years now, so I feel like it's very easy to become desensitized or to feel like detached because you just start seeing numbers. But I just like, don't look away, don't look away, watch the videos, like listen to the stories, amplify folks, crowdsource, raise money. I just did a fundraiser for the Palestine Children's Relief Fund and was able to crowdsource about $3,200. I
Wow.
co-raised some money with another friend, and we were able to get about, I think, $5,000 into a food kitchen to help get people resources in Gaza. So I really just think every little bit counts, and we do have like a fundamental moral global citizen obligation to show up for our Palestinian cousins and siblings right now.
Mhm. No,
Right.
that's
Yeah. Go
yeah.
ahead,
And
Phaz.
one thing I wanted to ask too, just even like on like the political side, as far as like how the US moves, I wanted to ask just because just hearing you talk about everything that's going on, why do you feel like from your perspective, of course, like in the US particularly, I know we talked about like the overstimulation, all these different medias, everything coming at you fast, but why do you think as Americans we are in a position, I don't know if it's even more so today, but it's like the division, like it seems more intentional. Like as I continue to focus more on like, okay, like what's going on in politics or in the news, I feel like a lot of it is putting side against side, like Republican versus Democrat and things like that. And you should believe this way versus you should believe this way, rather than, okay, yeah, there are some things that we can come together on. Just from your opinion, do you have like what do you feel is the reason of that?
This is so interesting. Well, I'll start with this. It's multifactorial. I wouldn't say there's just one reason that's leading
Hmm.
to this like intense political bifurcation that we're experiencing in this moment. But the
Hmm.
first thing that comes to mind is just the pressures of the attention economy. Like,
Yeah.
whether you're in traditional media or you're working in the social media space and sort of this like burgeoning media, more independent journalism, at the end of the day, it is your goal to capture someone's attention. Like,
Yes.
to catch them with a hook, to get them with the headlines so that they'll stay and they will read whatever it is that you're putting out. So, your advertisers get what they need and you get paid. Like, that is what I mean when I say the attention economy. And that's true for
Hmm.
all of us, regardless of the vertical we're in. And so honestly, I think a lot of the fracturing is due to sensationalism. People sensationalize
Mm.
stories to get those
Yeah.
clicks, get that money, right? Like it is fundamentally tied to capitalism and capitalist modes of production driving how people
Yes.
present information. And I think that's why media literacy is so important in moments like this, because whether it's traditional media or online, like dis, and malinformation are just rampant. There are
Right.
so
Oh my God.
it's so bad, and
It's
it's not always
terrible.
malicious, but good lord.
And especially too, like you say, people. This is where people get them to get their primary news. So, and then like, oh, it's got to be real because it's only like, but having that, yeah. So
Just because someone said it on TikTok, don't make it true. Go look it up.
Exactly. Go look it
people
up.
using
Do
TikTok
your
more than
own
Google now. I'm
research.
trying to tell you, like, I find
Wow,
myself on
really?
TikTok looking at stuff like,
And And that AI overview doesn't count as credible research either. Like, look at
I was gonna say that too. People do a quick little type
Let's
some AI
say, hey,
over.
I'm
It could be
one.
wrong still.
I'm chat
Deep
GPT for
dive.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
hmm And as far as everything going on in like the society right now, what do you feel like are some things just like us as Black people can continue to do? Because I know like just in things that I've been looking at, like just with the election and different things going on, like I know that was gut wrenching for a lot of people, but it's continuing to do because, and I'm asking this from position because we know we had the Black Lives Matter and everything that went on with that, but I feel like as a people it's very hard. I was having this conversation with someone the other day. Like as a people, it's very hard to connect to something when it has to do with change. Like I don't feel like we are like we had the Black Lives Matter and everything that went on, but like having and some sort of identity where we can come together and maybe it is there and I don't know, but I don't even think it's like not put out there for everyone to know because I feel like we said before, like we are in the majority of like, hey, we just kind of get on there, take in some news and kind of sit back. It's not happening to me right now, so let's all right.
Oh my goodness. So the question is like, what should Black folks be doing right now?
Yes.
I think we always need to be getting politically organized, you know?
Yeah.
Just because, well, they are coming for us today, maybe in different ways, but just because they're not coming for us today, you know, as it pertains to ICE, doesn't mean they won't be coming for us tomorrow. And I think
Yeah.
even the way that some of these conversations get framed, like exclude the impact that these crises are having on Black folk. Like when we talk about, you know, these ICE detention centers and these millions and millions of dollars being poured into ICE and folks being snatched off the streets and denied due
hmm
process, like absolutely, you know, Hispanic and Latino communities are being heavily impacted. And there are
Yeah.
Black folks who are immigrants. There are African diasporic folks who are immigrants. There are Haitian immigrants, right? Did we forget when Trump was on there being like, Haitian people are eating the dogs and eating the cats and
Yeah.
Right.
nonsense, right?
What?
Like when they
hmm
come for one community on the margins, it takes so little for it to turn into anti-Blackness, for it to turn into anti-indigeneity, for it to turn into anti-Semitism, for it to turn into Islamophobia, for it to turn into right? Like
hmm
really is all connected. And I feel like sometimes when we say things like collective liberation, we're all free or none of us are free, it sounds kind of woo-woo and people are like, okay, yeah, that sounds cute, but like, what does that mean for me? And that's what it
hmm
means for you. Like when you start seeing injustice happening to other people, your first thought should be, one, this is bad because it's bad outside of what could happen to me around it. And then your
hmm
second thought should be, that will be me next if I do not stand up against this. Like you
hmm
quite clearly have a moral, spiritual imperative to say and do something.
hmm
So I guess my like call to action for Black folks specifically is like stay engaged, get organized, like find a local organization that you feel alignment with. Maybe it's BYP 100, maybe it's Movement for Black Lives.
hmm
You know, maybe it's like whatever it is, find it and get plugged in and like deepen your political analysis and keep your finger on the pulse to whatever extent you have capacity for. Because I really think it's a matter of life and death.
and make sure you follow Raven Reveals. Make sure you do that. Make sure you do that too.
So you
Thanks
can
for
go
the
get that.
There we go. Little slight plug there. But that's awesome. I think the main thing, like I think that's so huge what you said, just like being tapped in, like with what's going on, having being organized politically. I think that's so huge because I think a lot of times it is kind of like we just kind of living and we could be next. I think that is huge because a lot of people just, okay, yeah, it's not happening to us, or like we're not gonna do anything. But if you're silent, that's also a problem. And then when it's happening to you, it becomes a whole bigger thing. But it's like, no, we can do something now. We can make change now. So I think that's a huge point. And I wanted to ask about the interview you had with the former second gentleman as well, because I got to watch like clip of it, but I want to know like how did that come about in the first place? But overall, like how did that go? What was the experience like?
That was a wild experience. I remember when that email rolled in, I was just like, whoa, what?
Do it.
That might have been the moment where I was like, I might be doing something with this
Yeah.
online.
Right.
We
Honestly,
made it. We made
yeah, mama, I made it. That was wild. So it was around the time that I was invited to the White House for the first ever Jewish American Heritage Month celebration. That same
it.
team that had sort of invited me to that opportunity reached out and they were like, hey, would you want to like have a conversation with the then second gentleman of the United States of America about the rise in anti-Semitism? And honestly, I was really, really excited because Like I said, this was around the time when they had just released their national plan to combat anti-Semitism, which was also a first of its kind. That was not sort of a commonplace, discourse or thing that had been done on a federal level, to my
Hmm.
knowledge, ever in the United States. And
Mm.
so I had already been kind of plugged into that, and then getting to actually speak with him directly about sort of his involvement in that and the motivation behind it um, was big. And I think also just being able to have very transparent conversations about, intermarriage within the Jewish community and interfaith
Mm.
partnerships. Oh my goodness.
There we go. There we go. Y'all go
Hey,
Real
tap
talk, yeah,
in.
oh, it's happening, baby.
I love it. Put me on blast. Do that.
Don't trip. You was on fleek in this video. You had curls was popping. You was good. You was good.
Thank you.
Nice little pink. I see pink may be your favorite color if people don't know.
I do like a little
It's like
pink.
almost some type of pink apparel on every other video. I ain't gonna.
Clock it. You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. I would've gone blue. That would have been very Jewish coded of me, but alas. But alas. No, my mama was actually over that day when we had that conversation, and she helped me like get my whole little background set up. And in the video, if you look closely, there's like a photo of my grandparents and I, and we're like all hugged up on each other. She was like, "You got to make sure this is in the video." And anyway, she's always been my biggest leader. She's always there behind the scenes,
We
like
love that.
cheering me
Shout
on.
out to the moms, man. You always
Shout
gotta
out to
have
the
a strong.
moms.
And again, I love the fact that you have that sense of support, that love, because it started somewhere before you, and it's able to be to that strength, that voice has been passed down to somewhere you've been able to get it, which I love, because just that much more of what was instilled into you, you're able to now be that much of a reflection to the next generation, those to come. And one thing I would like to hear from you is just kind of your take, or your perspective as to the sense of labels and identity that you share within yourself. So the fact that you are a black woman, a Jewish woman, a woman at that, of color. So and being in this lane, in this position, what kind of message does that give to the younger generation, or just the younger lady or women who may be creeping into this field, who may not feel like they can do it, or
Mm.
what voice do you feel like you represent for them?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'll start by saying this. I love that people feel seen by what I put out in the world and affirmed by what I put out in the world. But there is no individual who can ever like wholly, fully represent insert the blank community. I mean, I think that
Hmm.
that's not your implication, but I do think that logic that some other people follow sometimes like presumes a kind of monolithic nature. Like I represent Jewish people, I represent Black people, and it's like, but we're not a monolith in any iteration of community. And so
Hmm.
I sort of represent a particular embodiment of Blackness, Jewishness, womanness, queerness as well. And
Hmm.
yeah, and I love that people feel attached to that sometimes and maybe detached to it or challenged by it in other ways. But honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is just like specifically in the news influencer space online or content creation space online, it is a very man dominated space. Very
Yes.
man dominated space. And that's not conjecture. Like I recently spoke on a panel for the Pew Research Center, and I think they said something to the effect of roughly 70% of what they dub news influencers are men.
Mm.
And
Oh
so
wow.
right, yeah, like a huge portion. So I think there sometimes is a particular posturing and like masculinist approach to news and information that can come from that. Certainly not from all men, but I would say from a lot of reporters who identify as men. And I think obviously like what we know too about education and getting information is sometimes for the receiver, it's not what's being said, it's who's delivering it to them, right? Like you could hear the same exact
Exactly.
thing from two people with different identities, but if you feel personal affinity to or connection to the person
Yes.
to the right,
Hmm.
and the information might land different, right? Like I think of my friend AB, who AB Legally Hype, shout out, she's dope,
Oh
and
yeah.
she's a lawyer, and like she always says she does like Ebonics like news reporting, right? She talks about the law like in AAVE and Ebonics, and like
Right.
very
Hmm.
kind of posturing because she wants to be seen. She wants certain people. She wants us to feel seen and heard in the way that she delivers the information.
Yes.
So I think that's a big part of,
That's
I guess,
big.
your question, like how I feel about how I show up online and what I'm able to give people.
And I think that's
Like that.
huge too, because I think Eman actually hit on it too. Because like there's this one guy, like in the finance space, his name's the Wall Street Trapper, and basically like he's big into Wall Street, but he does really he's on there breaking it down in a way for his people to connect to that because he was in jail. So he's like, I'm breaking it down for the people that were in jail with me or that were on my block or on my hood, whatever it is. So I
That's
think
dope.
doing that is also very important because, like you was saying earlier, when you think about politics or you think about like what's going on in America, a lot of it is like, okay, like I don't really understand, or it's like too smart, or it's out of
Hmm.
my realm. Like I'm not in that
Yeah.
realm, so I can't do anything about it. So I do think, yeah, that's a very
It's,
important thing to
it
continue to
gives you a
do.
sense of like you can't. It almost makes you feel like, and I'm only saying this because I know I felt like this, but it almost makes you feel like you just are a peg on the board. You know what I'm saying? And again, like
Mm.
you're not
You
somebody
have
that
no
can really
control.
yeah. Like what's my one vote? That's for a long reason. That's why for a long time, even though I've only been voting for a little bit, I ain't that old, but for a long
Hmm.
time though, it felt like I was not interested in voting because I'm like, what is my one vote going to do? You know, I
Mm.
don't understand politics. And then, but the thing is, I started to learn you don't understand it because you're not trying to understand it. You're not trying to learn it, but it's because the like you said, the delivery. It was always so politics always had like a more boring appeal to it. Like it lecture hall-y, you know. That people are here talking about these laws, this act, this point code three. I'm like, okay, but then when you actually have somebody like you said who are able to ebonics and break it down for you and make it like okay, that kind of makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And it was enjoyable to watch and consume. Now we start to pick up on X, Y, and Z, and then you obviously you have to still do a little bit of that legwork because everything that you're going to get is not like information you're going to get and learn is not always going to be fun and educational. It's just going to be educational sometimes. You got to open that book. You got to, you know what I'm saying, feed the knowledge to yourself and do a little bit of the legwork. But I think the first initiation to it is just getting intrigued by it, opening that page, wanting to open that book. It's one thing if I'm looking at a gray book that just says politics versus I'm looking at a book with all these magical colors and I'm like, what they talking about? And they got the same information on the inside. So again, I feel like you might be able to deliver just as much great information as somebody who's on a panel and debating all day long. And y'all might be talking about the same thing, but it's just like you said, the way you're able to break it down for the consumer to get it, and it doesn't seem like it's a lot all at one time, and they're not hitting you with big words that you don't understand, and you're like, all right, let me turn channel on this because it doesn't resonate with me. So I
Hmm.
love that. You know what I'm saying? I love that we have these spaces. For a long time, I didn't think that was something. And again, I didn't think just because I'm somebody of accountability and responsibility. I wasn't looking for it just because I didn't feel like it was out there. And then when I realized it was out there, it was a matter of, hey, do I want to tap into it? So, you
Hmm.
know, shout out to y'all in that space. You know what I'm saying?
There we go.
Helping
There we go.
us out. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate that.
There we go. No, definitely appreciate it. And a question I wanted to ask you too, this may be it's a little off, but what do you feel like is I want to say this the right way. What do you feel like is the biggest difference in like the contrast between like Democrats and Republicans right now?
You know?
Fascism. I
Yeah, yeah.
mean, truly fascism.
No,
Like
yeah.
the Republican Party is wholesale co-signing Donald Trump's fascist agenda to forego due
Hmm.
process and do things like deploying the National Guard in places that have historically low crime rates for like the last couple of years, right? I mean,
Hmm.
earlier today I was watching a press like briefing with our governor here in Illinois, JB Pritzker, and our mayor and some other like members of Congress and just like officials and faith leaders who were talking about this, right? Because he's threatened
Hmm.
to deploy thousands of national troops here, and they were like, "Look around, like we're in downtown Chicago, everything's copacetic, like
Yeah.
we're fine, low crime rates." So I think the difference is Republicans are lying. Republicans are cheating. I mean, look at what happened in Texas with this gerrymandering nonsense, where they're trying to. I mean, they redrew the maps, the congressional maps, in a way that's explicitly racialized, in a way
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
that's, I mean, it's going to be challenged in court because it's illegal, and it's going to help them steal 5 seats come midterms. Um,
Yeah.
so there are very explicit things happening right now within the Republican Party, unabashedly so. They're saying the quiet part out loud, where they're working to hold on to their power because they know things go in a pendulum, right? When things swing
Hmm.
really far to the right, then things go back and they swing really far to the left. Like that is just
Yes.
the nature historically of how politics works in this country. And they're trying to rig the system so it won't swing back to the left. And I
Yeah.
think Democrats right now are hell bent on trying to actually get them to respect this little thing called the Constitution and
Hmm.
to uphold that because that's their sacred responsibility. And they seem to have forgotten that in their desire to hold on to power.
Hmm.
I
And how? Yeah. Go ahead. E. Yeah.
say And I like that we're talking to you and saying, and in the essence of the map, I know you had a recent video, and I would love to see what your answer to the question would be. But you said, is there a certain point where, or a certain percentage of turnout where Black and Latina voters basically to overturn this kind of perception of this map, like basically make it obsolete in a sense. I feel like is the question you were asking. What
Yes.
would your take of the percentage be? Do you feel like there's a percentage in mind that you feel like we would need to get involved or indulge for it to be impactful? Obviously, one would be wishful thinking to say we need 100% participation, but is there an ideal number in there, and is that something you feel we could achieve?
So unfortunately, realistically, my answer would be no. I guess to build on that and to give folks a little more context for that particular video, that video was an interview with Texas State Representative Jolanda Jones, who
Mhm.
represents, I mean, a number of different districts, one of them being like Third Ward. And that, I lived in Third Ward for a number of years when I was in Houston. And I feel very
Mhm.
strongly about it because they're trying to specifically take away Al Green's seat, right? And
Mm.
we don't play about Al Green, okay? That's
Now,
that's Uncle Al Green. Don't play with it.
Okay, don't play with that now.
Yeah, that's playing with fire right there. So, I mean, I was just curious. I was like, if we had like 100% voter turnout with Black and Latina voters, could this fix, these racist gerrymandered maps? And honestly, I'll defer to her response. Essentially, she was like, it's not impossible, but 100% of us would have to show up, and a lot of them would have to not show up, was essentially. And honestly, like, I mean, Texas doesn't have the worst voter turnout in the United States, but it's definitely one of the worst voter turnouts in terms of, state turnout in the United States. So I do think this is a conversation to have in community. Like, I get it. Folks feel deeply disillusioned. Our political systems are so, I mean, depending on your perspective, either broken or fundamentally built in ways that are meant to subjugate us and exclude us. I don't disagree with any of that. This is not me saying like, government or politics is going to get us free. That's not why I do what I do. I don't actually believe that at all. I think we get us free. I think that's from the bottom up. That's not from the top down. But I think what then gets left out of the conversation is like the top down stuff is harm mitigation. Like you can choose to not engage with politics, but that doesn't mean politics is going to suddenly stop impacting. Politics touches every part of your life, the cost of your medications, how fast your roads get fixed, what your property taxes are. Literally every single part of your life is touched by it. And so me personally, I'm not going to leave all that up to folks who maybe don't love
people on the seat,
care for me.
People on the panel.
Nah, that's harm mitigation. We got to be locked in, and then also imagine beyond these systems.
Yeah, and I want to ask you too, as far as this past election in itself, what do you think? Like, since we're talking about like voter turnout and things like that, what do you think? I'm not gonna say happened, but like, where do you think Kamala and that administration? Why do you think we weren't able to cross the finish line there?
Oof, Gaza, Palestine. Right? I mean, I think so many people, and that's not the only reason. I think this is a like multifactorial answer, but that was the first thing that comes to mind for me. It's like, why would you continue voting for more when someone who's been attached to this administration that is actually part of like a genocidal scene is like not voicing at least strongly enough for those of us bearing witness opposition to that positionality? I mean, let's just call it what it is. I think Kamala Harris had a lot of really fantastic, amazing policies. Like I'm not the type of person who throws the baby out with the bathwater. There was a lot that she got right. I do think like there just wasn't a strong enough analysis, condemnation, or critique there. And that pushed a lot of young voters, especially away. And here we are, right? But at the same time, I think there could have been more of a both and there. And this is why I wrote so hard for Kamala. One, because I do think she got a lot right, though not everything, but that's every politician. There are no perfect politicians.
Not at all.
At all. But also because I was like, if there's someone that we can push left on this issue, I feel way more confident we can push her left versus Donald Trump and this bullshit that we're dealing with now, where he's actually in cahoots with Netanyahu and, like came in saying that he was going to end all these, crises happening internationally and then is now forming and exacerbating them. I don't know how people thought opting out was going to be better than voting for someone that we could potentially push more left on this issue. Those are my personal politics. That's not me excusing the lack of critical analysis. That's not at all that, but it is me holding the both and of like, we still got to survive. Like we still have
it's 4 long years we finna endure. Locked in.
Yeah, and being in the field that you're in, do you ever have any like fear of just like speaking on like the things that you speaking on, or like
Yeah.
voicing some of those things just in the world or like the society we live in, when like the reality is that people are like crazy, like people are very far on different sides, and it's like if you're not this way we'll kill you or we'll do
Right.
like that. So have you had any fear with that, or had any situations where you had to deal with something like that?
Oof. Yes, that's the short answer.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think that fear has shown up for me in a lot of different ways. I mean, most obviously, perhaps, like I'm a woman online. It's scary to be a woman in the world in general, in a
Yeah.
patriarchal society that like imposes particular kinds of violences on women and like feminine presenting folks.
Yes.
To then like expose myself online in particular ways to millions of unique viewers every month, it does create a certain kind of vulnerability, right? Like I'll be out in the world moving around, and revealers will come up to me and be like, "Oh my god, I love your content. So nice to meet you. Can we take a photo?"
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, a lot of my audience is like women, so I feel like we're just statistically less likely to like hate crime each other.
Yeah.
Trust and
Yeah.
believe. There's some out there though. Don't let your
Listen,
guard down.
I'm not, and you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But knock on wood, my experiences with those in-person interactions have been fine. Um,
Awesome.
but I have gotten some scary emails. I have
Mm-hmm.
had people make threats to my life. A pretty notable scary comment was someone once said under a video, "I want to turn you into an ISIS beheading video,"
Oh wow.
under something that I posted. That was pretty wild. Honestly, I've never seen more hate in my DMs or under my reels or TikToks than I did right around October 7th. That was
Mm-hmm.
unlike anything I'd ever experienced online. Just an outpouring of like misogynoir and anti-Semitism and like queerphobia and like like everything just all at once. And so I do think that's a particular part of my experience, is that because I exist at this interstitial, it's like, okay, that's cool because I get to speak from a lot of different vantage points. But I think the part about intersectionality that we don't always talk about is that it's not just like there's an intersectional violence. Like it means that you are then opened up to particular kinds of intersecting violences that like conflate and inflect and inform one another. And then also just like speaking can be scary, right? Like saying what's really in
Yeah.
your heart and what you really feel. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
be transparent, like I struggled with that closer to October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who is very proud of all of who I am as a Black and Jewish and queer person. And I was like, I don't know how to reconcile my pride with like my Jewish identity with what this nation state is doing and supposedly doing in the name of the Jewish people. Like, I didn't ask for that. This shit isn't making
Mm-hmm.
me feel any more safe, annihilating our Palestinian cousins. I don't rock with that. And yet
Mm-hmm.
there's this tension around it. And, how do I talk about this in a way that like really deeply honors my politics and also like where I know I'm going to get backlash from my community, frankly, because I'm not a Zionist and because I am deeply critical of Israel and like all these things. And yeah, I'll be honest, I think that was really scary to like step into, especially in that first year, because it's a different climate now, right? Like folks are really
Yes.
saying it with their chest, like this is genocide, this is wrong. In that first year, so many people were tiptoeing and they like weren't saying what the fuck really needed to be said.
Yeah.
I would like to think I stood on business and that I still do.
Oh,
So
talk that talk, honey. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
He's bringing the gangsta out of you right now because
Yeah.
politics get like that sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
I
I
love that.
think that that's
I love
huge.
that though
Yeah.
because in a lighter sense, that's that passion. And you can tell you're very compassionate. These are things that coincide with you, but that you believe in. But also to make light of something that is bad and negative. At the end of the day, and again, I understand different religions and so on and so forth, or people have different spiritual beliefs, but people hated on Jesus. So at the end of the day, when you're being hated on, you're doing something right. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? You're Martin Luther King, the hate, Malcolm X, the hate. So it's like when you're making that impact, when you're changing the world, when you really feel like you're stepping into that realm, you are going to have that negative, and that negative comes with the territory to let you know that you're doing something right. So again, shout out to you and everything, on all the messages, the voice you have, the things you're pushing, because again, it's again, as you said, it's not just yourself, but it takes the few of you to help drive the masses of us. So you may not feel like in a humbling sense, like, hey, I'm just one voice, but you do a lot for the people who follow you and the people that do listen. So, and the fact that you stand your ground, you stand on business, you don't let, the hate or the fear of what other people say on that other end of the computer. Again, some of them taken serious, some of them taken with a grain of salt, but you don't let that steer you or, divert you away from what you're actually, pushing. So again, commend you for that. Shout out to you for that. And yeah, it's nothing lighter to say. But in a lighter sense, though, I'm saying, the push positivity, having this, I'm saying, and to just learn more about our great guests. Phase know where I'm going with it. We
Mhm.
do got
Wait,
that.
I got one question before that.
One more.
Before that. Yeah, I got one more
Again,
before
almost
that.
got hot in here.
Yeah, I
Almost got
know.
hot in here.
Because I think that's very important. Everything you're saying. The question, the reason, like I had just the question about like if any fear or anything and everything that you're doing, because I think it is important to recognize and even give you more flower. We'll give you the whole bouquet or whatever we got to do, because just because that you are doing something that is very needed. You're a voice that really is important to our culture right now. So like anybody that watches this, like this is on YouTube, so it'll be here forever. Like really go tap in with what she's doing, because it's not easy what you're doing, especially in a space where, like we said, people can get crazy. People are on both sides and it can get wild. So definitely commend you for that. And I look up to you. As someone that has known you since Cornell, I definitely look
Goodness.
up to you for that. 'Cause that's amazing.
As beautiful as the roses
And
are,
and
they
one
come
thing
with
too,
thorns.
come on now, they do. They
Did
do.
anybody ever say that? I've been trying to find my trademark,
That might be a good
my
quote.
catchphrase. I'm just saying.
That might be your quote.
I've been trying to find my quotes on here. I've been throwing some stuff out there. I don't know if anybody ever said that, but I'm like,
Yeah. And now we can get into the okay.
hot take,
Oh,
hot take, hot take, hot take, hot
hot
take,
takes, hot takes, hot takes,
hot takes, hot
hot
takes.
takes. Yes,
This
sir.
is Relax, Laugh, and Chill with Real Dim McNeil. In this section of the show, we try to bring a more funny entertainment element to our guests or to our hosts, and just kind of, try to lighten the mood, get to know a little bit more about you. So these questions they may get serious, they may not stay as tough to the norm, but let's do it. Since we're on the topic of politics, if you could create a political party based on your favorite TV show, or if you can create some type of policy, what would it be called, and what would its first campaign promise be?
Oh my goodness, a political party or a policy. Okay, well, see, you can't ask like a politics influencer this because I'm gonna give you a serious ass answer. Like it's
Get
not
in
gonna
there, no, get
be
in there,
No,
get
we
in
need
there,
all of it. We need it. That's what we want.
I
get in
mean,
Go
there.
I
ahead.
don't know. Maybe I call a political party like Black Feminists of America, and then
Mm,
our first piece of policy would be to address the Black maternal health crisis, and we do that
mm,
by like resourcing prenatal care and also
mm,
like creating avenues for childcare and education, and also like guaranteed maternal health leave that's paid in the United States. That'd be kind of lit for everyone.
mm.
Yeah.
Who's on this party with you? Who's
I like that. I like
some
that. I
TV
like
show
that.
people that'll be on this party with you?
Oh, Elizabeth Booker Houston. That's my girl. She's in
Okay, okay. Quick, no hesitation with the answer. Yeah, she's in
at
there.
all.
She's in
No.
there. You got a number two?
I got a number two. Maybe AB.
Okay, shout out to
Okay.
AB. We might sneak her on here next. Y'all stay tuned for that. We're gonna see. We in the DMs. What's the most unpolitical thing you do to de-stress after debating heavy issues? And would your followers be shocked?
Ooh, most unpolitical thing I do. Honestly, okay, this is like kind of a boring answer. I'll like go on a run or something.
Well, now ain't nothing wrong with running.
Come on.
I actually ran a half marathon for the first time about a year ago.
Okay.
Really?
So working on half marathon number 2 right now. And my followers would not be surprised because I actually post a lot about working out on my stories. And it's funny, like I'll meet people sometimes in real life and they're like, oh my God, I saw that you ran another 6 miles clean. Like,
Go on now. Get your body, clock that.
yeah, so
That's
probably gonna
awesome.
run.
That's dope. Do you
That's
ever run
awesome.
in like vlog or like running
It's
like
funny you
talk
ask
politics?
that. I kind of like want to. Like, I feel like I should run and then have a mic and do the thing where people like
Right.
run and educate. That'd be kind of lit.
That'd be fire.
I'm just saying. Make sure you have a water bottle or a little straw or something.
Wait, cute. I'll get one of those camelbacks.
Come on
There we
now.
go. There
Trying
we
to put you
go.
on. If you had to choose one, free unlimited coffee forever, or the power to ban one political cliche phrase like fake news, slippery slopes from existence. Which one are you picking and why?
I'm immediately banning "Make America Great Again."
Mm,
Just fuck up the whole brand.
Get it out of there.
Rebranding is hard, all right? They'll be scrambling.
Man,
yeah.
what? Get it out of there. No more madness. We don't want to hear it no more.
And I have a question too. Would Raven ever in her lifetime think about running for mayor or
Come on.
anything like getting into politics on a, I'm not gonna say a deeper level, but actually pursuing that?
So I've been asked this question before, and I'll just be really honest with you. Nothing about being a representative sounds exciting to me. Like, it is a
Mm.
deeply, deeply unglamorous job with
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of pressures and a lot of expectations and a lot of responsibility.
Mhm.
I feel very comfortable in the role of reporting, or just
Mhm.
supporting rather, and reporting. For example,
Mhm.
like my friend Kat, she's Gen Z. She's running for Congress out here in Illinois, like literally in
Mhm.
my district, District 9, I believe. And like, we're behind the scenes, we're supporting, we're cheering her on. Love this role. I guess never say never. Desires can change, but honestly, I think if I ever did run for office, it would be more so to have like local impact. I don't think I'd be running
Yeah.
for Congress or something on a national level.
Gotcha. Awesome, awesome. And I seen something as well. We could always bleep this out, but I think I follow too. You might have a podcast coming.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay, so like
Get in there, Phaz.
I had launched a podcast like back in 2022 or something, early
Uh-huh.
days.
Yeah.
And I had a couple episodes up, but it was a totally different iteration of me. It was like
Yeah.
Raven the person, or like Raven the political commentator. My
Yeah.
brand has evolved. All that being said,
Mhm.
at some point I would love to launch a podcast. I think I'm just
Mm.
building out infrastructure around it so that I could do
Yeah.
it sustainable. And like,
Mhm.
y'all, I would love to have a co-host, so it's not just me listening to my
Mhm.
own voice all the
Always
time.
gotta have somebody on the side.
So based off of that, who would be, I'll ask this, who would be
AB.
your dream interview, or would you say
I like them
someone that
calls,
you
man.
could have on the podcast that would be a very impactful conversation that you feel like the people need to hear right now?
So many people.
Hmm.
But honestly, first person that came to mind was Michelle Obama. I feel like that was
Come on
Mm.
now.
Mm.
that'd be
Yes, we
Michelle,
can.
Michelle,
Obama Foundation, hit me up.
can
Right,
hit
come
it
on now.
right
We
here,
trying to
right
plug that
here.
in there. No, we need
That's
that.
awesome.
Need that.
That's
Do you
awesome.
have any guilty pleasures in politics and just in life?
Oh, I do. Yes. So for a very long time, I was deeply addicted to sugar, like not in a hee hee ha ha
That's
way.
why I go into
Like,
grits.
oh
Hmm.
my God, so
It was
bad.
more grit. It was more sugar than grits.
Exactly. Sugar with a side of grits.
Come on now.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So what's your sweet snack? What's your sweet snack of choice?
So everyone's gonna think I'm really foul for this, and that's okay. Like, I own it.
Hmm.
Milk duds are my
Milk
favorite.
duds. I don't think I've ever had a milk dud. Which is crazy.
You don't want one that you're not. You have to try it just so you can realize you're not missing out on anything.
I don't even really know what a milk
You're
dud
probably
is.
the
I just
first.
know.
No, I'm lying. Shout out to my mom. My mom likes milk duds too.
She's got great
But other
taste.
than you and my mom, I don't know anybody else.
You know
That's
what?
hilarious.
It's like objectively foul, but I love it, and that's my truth.
That's our big
Yeah.
back pleasure of the day.
Yeah.
There we go.
What's your funniest, most unexpected interaction with? I won't call them a follower because this episode you've been calling them the revealers. So, what's been your most funniest or impactful interaction?
Ooh, most impactful interaction. I honestly, my followers are so sweet. Like, I feel like our interactions are just wholesome. They're like, "Hi, are you such and such? I love your content so much." And normally they're too shy to even ask for a photo. So like, I'll see them with their phone and I'm like, "Would you like to take a photo?"
Hmm.
So less so funny interactions and more so just like sweet, impactful ones. Honestly, I think the interaction that I mentioned earlier about being at the No Kings protest in Houston and running into someone who was like, "Yo, like, I follow you. That's why I came out to this activation today, because I just felt like so energized by your content and the urgency of everything happening right now." I was like,
Wow.
"Man," like, someone left their house, drove to this rally, and was marching around because of something I said on the internet. Like, that's wild. That's
Raven said this Molotov. No, I'm playing.
I don't know about that.
You don't got none of them aggressive. You ain't got none of them aggressive revealers.
You
Stay
know,
on business for Raven.
I wouldn't incite
Be out
them
there
to
somewhere.
that. I wouldn't incite them to that.
Last hot take for myself. I don't know if Phaz got any more, but if politics weren't in your life, what completely different career do you think you'd be in?
That's so hard to even imagine.
Right.
Because I'm like, my whole life is politics. If I wasn't in politics, what would my career be in? I mean, realistically, I feel like I'd probably be doing something in the nonprofit industrial complex, which is, I guess, problematic on its own, but more tangential to politics. It'd be more sort of like community service oriented, which like the personal is political and the political is personal. So I think all work is political, actually. That's my short answer. I think all work is political. Like even if I were to work at like a makeup company or something. So I am interested in like lifestyle stuff and, you know, fitness and working out, like the way that we think about, you know, source makeup and where we source it from, like the mica, you know, taken from mines on the continent of Africa, like that's politicized. See, this is what I'm saying. You can't ask
We love it though.
She just can't get
Not
away.
funny.
It's either
Love it.
politics or I be on the street with my political sign getting the change in the cup. Either way, it's politics. No, that's dope.
Yeah.
Though. That's dope.
And one thing I want to ask too, before I get to the last question is, as far as like, I'm interested in what is a day, like a normal day in the life kind of look like for you, and because you have like as a like content creator, you know what I mean, you may have a keynote or like whatever it is, but it's like, what does a typical like day in the life look like for you right now?
Honestly, it varies a lot at the moment because there's a bunch of stuff popping off in Illinois right now, specifically with this National Guard deployment. I would say on an average day, wake up in the morning, work out, nourish myself, and then I really just sit down. I'm like doing emails, some admin stuff. I'm touching base, you know, with my manager. I'm doing a bunch of research. I spend a lot of my day reading. So what's happening in the news, you know, what stories have I identified that I think are, you know, important, that would be resonant for my audience, what's trending right now, and like what's the overlap of all that stuff. And then I sit down and I start crafting content. So I make stuff on Threads, you know, figuring out if I want to make a reel, so on and so forth. And then other than that, like just building out other ways to have impact. I'm working on my YouTube channel right now. I'm working on launching a Substack right now. So perpetually creating, and that's what this work is. I mean, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. So I really feel like if you're going to be doing like content creation full-time, you have to have that like get up and go type of energy every single day.
You have to.
I'm sure, guys. I hope you're taking notes. That was like the blueprint for real. I like.
I know. No, this is
doing the
safe forever.
research
You know, I got this.
She's doing. You know, saying actual content creation. You know, we just link up and we like, hey, we gonna do something. We don't know what it is, but we doing something.
It's something.
But that's dope. That's dope. That's dope to know. It takes a lot more to go into it. But
and
I
thank
you.
You.
For Phaz.
The question that they've all been waiting for. This has been amazing having you on here. And our final question on the Unphazed podcast, we always ask our guests, with everything going on in the world today, everything is political. So politically, what's going on in the world today, and everything that's going on with you in your personal life and just in work life and everything like that, how do you continue to stay unfazed with everything that's going on in the world?
Cue the music!
Oh my gosh, how do I remain unfazed? I mean, I think the honest truth is I don't remain unfazed. I feel everything very, very deeply. Sometimes to a point where I feel like it's to my own detriment, where I struggle to self-regulate. And I think that's so many of us in this moment where we're just being inundated with an never-ending onslaught of negative, challenging, hard information and realities in the world. So I think for me, the question is not how do I remain unfazed, it's how do I care for myself as I feel deeply in this moment. And for me, it's a very holistic answer. It looks like moving my body every day. It looks like eating whole foods 80-20. It looks like spending time with my mom every weekend. It looks like flying to Houston to see my grandparents. It looks like hanging out with my friends. It looks like having game nights and going out dancing and just doing all the things that I fundamentally know nourish my soul. And I think we all know internally what those things are for us, but life and capitalism and the demands of existing in this world take precedent sometimes, and we put ourselves to the wayside. But I think especially when we're in a dire inflection point like this, it's important to just listen to that internal ancestral like knowing, and to do those things that you know are gonna nourish you so you can show up the next day better and more filled up than ever.
Let's go. That might be the.
Wow.
Now she didn't revamp the Unphazed.
Wow.
Shout out to you, girl.
Oh my
That's
God.
how you do that right there. That's how you do that right there. I was like,
That was such
I
an
love
amazing
what you
answer.
said.
I'm unfazed, yeah.